Hello, OAS family. We have an interesting topic that I wanted to talk about today, and it sort of relates to the last email message that we sent out, which was about the idea of constant, never-ending incremental improvement and the power of that. So that the message was basically about how when we're looking, as Americans, we're often looking for like a magic bullet, or a secret pill, something that will instantly create a result, instantly and effortlessly create the result that we're looking for. And really, these things rarely ever exist. And when something actually gets a reputation as being like a secret pill or a magic bullet, it's usually because somebody was sort of engaged in an improvement process that was incremental. Every day they're working at it, they're getting better, they're getting better, they're getting better. And then all of a sudden they get something that helps them take the next step. And it turns out that the next step that they take was enough to create the result that they wanted. But had they not done that little improvement, step-by-step, incremental work beforehand, whatever they bought that ended up pushing them over the top and helping them experience the result that they wanted wouldn't have created the result. So it was actually the combination of the work, the day-by-day work that they were doing, plus this product that they got that eventually did it for them. So that's kind of the idea of the message. I just wanted to summarize it for you a little bit. So today we have a calligraphy lesson for the word Kaizen, and I'm not Japanese, so my apologies if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. But this concept was actually introduced to Japan after World War II by an American businessman who came in and consulted for various industries in Japan and actually spent a lot of time consulting for the auto industry there. So it was just this idea of the power of constant, never-ending improvement. And the Japanese embraced that idea as a nation and basically transformed themselves from a defeated post-World War II nation that was just completely decimated by the effects of the war and the fact that they had lost the war. And they turned themselves into an economic superpower. So they made themselves this huge player on the global economic stage without a military, because that was part of the agreement they had with the United States. So this concept that they sort of embraced and executed has tremendous power. And this idea sort of gets all the way back to the DNA of Oriental Art Supply as a business. So, our family, the ethnicity of our family is Chinese. But we, the background of my parents is kind of unusual because although they were born in mainland China, they didn't spend a lot of time there. They actually grew up in Taiwan. And because of that, they don't have the same point of view as most Chinese people that you are meeting today that grew up, were born, spent most of their lives in mainland China. That is a different point of view. So my parents' point of view, there is this sort of tie to the classic Chinese culture that was developed through like the ancient dynasties. You heard of like the Qing dynasty and the Tang dynasty, back when China was one of the greatest superpowers in the world. And they had the most modern technology. They had beautiful culture, and they had things like silk and jade and all of these treasures that European traders would travel along the Silk Road to trade with Chinese, the Chinese people that had all this amazing stuff. So there is a strong tie to that cultural tradition, which is really important because all of the stuff that we think of as being truly Chinese, a lot of it comes from that ancient cultural tradition. And that cultural tradition actually became the seeds of the culture for all these other Asian countries. Japan, Korea, in a certain extent, Southeast Asia. So the influence of that and the ideas that were involved in that period of time, there was like Taoism and Confucianism and all of these sort of and Buddhism, all these sort of ancient Asian philosophies and points of view and ways of looking at the world that are now studied a lot by Westerners because they kind of provide a balancing view to the Western point of view. So it was all started there. So it's very important that my parents had an upbringing that educated them in all of the history and the philosophy and the stories and the culture, the art, all of that appreciation. They were, because of who their parents were, they were very connected to that. And then what happened was that China experienced this huge change in culture that was related to communism taking root there in China. And so my parents left China and actually grew up in Taiwan. And so in Taiwan, they were actually exposed to kind of what was going on in Japan, which was Japan is kind of a nation of refiners. They have an incredible taste for quality, and because of this exposure to some of these ideas post World War II and this embracing of this idea of Kaizen, constant and never-ending improvement, they became a culture that just had was willing to develop things beyond anybody's idea of quality. Like the amount of that they were willing to work on something to make it better and better and better and better was just beyond what most cultures even could conceive. And so it wasn't until some of the stuff started coming out of Japan that we got an idea of like, wow, this stuff can be really, really nice. And so the country, the island of Taiwan sort of sits in between these two countries, and so is influenced by these two countries. So what we have as far as like the DNA of Oriental Art Supply and kind of what makes us who we are as a company is we have the tie to the ancient culture of China and all the riches that culture possesses. And then we have this idea of the influence from Japan and how how an emphasis on quality really makes a difference. And then we tie that all back to this Chinese sense of frugality, which is, if any of you have sort of studied quality and how quality typically works, is you can improve something fairly easy up to kind of like 90% quality, right? And then there's this law that kicks in called the law of diminishing returns, which means the amount of effort that it takes to get it from 90% quality to 100% quality is the exact same amount of effort or more that it took to get from 0 to 90. So really, it makes sense to stop at 90, because to get that extra level of perfectionism in terms of a product, for example, you're going to make the product too expensive. And the reality is most people can't tell the difference between something that is like 90% perfect and something that is 100% perfect. So that is kind of like where OAS sits We are looking to get you the highest quality materials possible, but at still prices that are reasonable and realistic to somebody who is just a pure beginner. And we're trying to give you the benefit of that quality so that you don't struggle learning this, because this art form is tricky enough. It seems simple, but it does take some effort and focus to get good at it. And the quality of materials definitely makes a difference. And so that is kind of like how Oriental Art Supply developed the types of products that we've established over the years and the quality level that we've sort of targeted. Then we sort of couple that with this idea of this passion for every one of our customers really having a good experience, having an authentic experience, having an experience that is enriching. So we're sort of pairing this quality level, which we think is kind of like a sweet spot, with this service level that is like, we're willing to go above and beyond what most companies are willing to do to help you really get it, to help you really feel it, to help you really experience it. And so that is what we are all about. And that is like a very personal sort of look into who we are as a family, and how this is sort of like our family treasures that we're wanting to share with all of you. And it's something that is very old for us. The tradition for us goes back 5 generations. And so this mission that we have of bringing these materials and an appreciation for Chinese art and culture to you is a very personal mission of ours. And we are so happy to have found you and made a connection with you. And, we just look forward to helping you experience whatever it is that you want to experience through this art form and through this culture. And so this is all a very, very long introduction to a calligraphy demonstration that we have coming up. So next, you'll see my mother demonstrate the writing for this phrase, Kaizen, which in Japan is translated to constant and never-ending improvement. And if you want to look up the history of this phrase, there are whole bodies of work that are published around this philosophy and how much it has taken hold in Japan and how much people are still emphasizing it and using it as a way to define the quality level of things that come out of Japan. All right, so here comes the demonstration. Glad you're here with us, and we will see you soon.